Thank you, David. I appreciate it.
He's not leaving yet.
Yeah, how could we convince you to stay?
I'll send you my list of demands.
Right.
Unless we're not streaming them.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you here in person. Good to see the folks online. I'm Matt Green, co-chair of our ACES committee, along with Josephine Ishman. So just very quickly before we get started, Manhattan Community Board does have a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability or an extraordinary circumstance, and excused members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. The meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel and a transcript is being recorded. So now that that is out of the way, welcome again. We have a smaller group here in person, but we have a really great agenda tonight. As we begin most of these meetings, we'll start with an open session for an opportunity for members of the public to share any updates to bring to our committee's attention. One slight change of the agenda, we are going to begin with FIT as our second agenda item, and then we'll turn to Indie Space and then Entertainment Community Fund, and then any old or new business. So with that, I would like to welcome Lisa Wager from FIT. Good to see you, Lisa. Thank you for joining us. And we appreciate you being here to give us an update on your programming, especially as it relates to seniors and the work that you all are doing with them.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to my first ACES meeting ever.
Really? Wow. Amazing.
Well, land use many times, parks occasionally, ACES.
Full board always.
So I'm here to tell you about FIT's Senior Learner Program and to answer a number of Josephine's initial questions. So the genesis of FIT's Senior Learner Program goes back to state ed law that was signed by Governor Malcolm Wilson, who was the 50th governor of the state of New York. He was actually elected as lieutenant governor. He served for 1 year, replacing Governor Rockefeller, who it is rumored died in the saddle, but not in the current PETA sense of that term. And Wilson was then defeated by Hugh Carey when he ran for governor when Wilson ran for governor in his own right. He signed this bill during his one term in June of 1974. And a fun fact, before I get into the meat of this, about Governor Wilson is that the Tappan Zee Bridge, which opened in 1954, was renamed for him in December of 1994, which was the 20th anniversary of his leaving office, which is the polite way to say he wasn't getting sworn in again because he'd lost the election. And ironically, this renaming was signed into law by Governor Mario Cuomo as he left office, having lost that election to George Pataki. And now, as many of us know, Governor Wilson's name has been, in fact, removed, and it's the Mario Cuomo Bridge. So government is a very small place. Okay, down to business. So the law applies to both CUNY and SUNY systems, and it was written for their state-operated colleges, which typically refers to the four-year institutions. But FIT started offering this option for mature learners defined as 60 plus over 20 years ago. You may not know that FIT is chartered as a community college, not a state op, in the SUNY system, and we are the only community college in New York State to offer bachelor's degrees, 26 of them. Plus, we have a School of Graduate Studies with 7 master's programs. The senior learner classes are provided at a cost of $35 per course, plus a $10 registration fee. There is no sliding scale for NYCHA residents. That was one of the committee's questions. The program was closed during COVID. It took a while to revive it in a new form. Senior learner courses are now developed specifically for this program as part of FIT's commitment to its access mission, which we continue to expand. Previously, we offered the program in the fall and spring semesters, but this past January, we offered it for the winter term, and that was quite successful. The courses run once a week, 4 to 6 sessions. Each is 3 hours long on weekdays and Saturdays. All courses include a list of supplies that are to be brought to the first class, A few of the classes also have a $20 to $25 materials fee for materials that are supplied in class. That's all listed on the page when you register, so everyone goes in eyes wide open. Our enrollment numbers are trending up. In the first post-COVID semester, fall 23, 102 seniors enrolled. That went up to 119 in fall 24 and 158 this past fall. And in fall 2019, which was the last full semester before COVID, enrollment was 180, so we're catching up. The current spring semester has 149 seniors enrolled. That's what's happening now, which is a 25% increase from last spring's 119. So it's building. We promote the program. This was another question from the committee. We promote the program through email, social media, and the program's webpage. And word of mouth is also very active among the seniors. People register with their friends, bringing a bit of community into the course, while also, of course, meeting new people and creating broader social networks among people with like interests. You also asked how the program is funded. The college provides the program at a below market rate to allow access for seniors as part of our access mission, as I mentioned. Senior Learners is FIT's sole senior focused program. That was another question from the committee. Do we have other senior focused initiatives? Though, of course, seniors can enroll in any non-credit, for-credit, or certificate class in the School of Continuing and Professional Education, as well as any of the nearly 50 degree programs that FIT offers across the School of Art and Design, the School of Business and Technology, and the School of Graduate Studies. Some classes do fill up quickly, and we do have waiting lists. Seniors can take more than one during any semester. The only limit is their scheduling. And class registration does not create access to campus facilities like the gym or library. Earlier today, I sent a list of classes to Jesse, Matt, and Josephine, so those should reach you shortly if they haven't already. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate the update. Any questions for Josephine or for Lisa? Josephine, do you have any?
I've been promoted.
Just curious to know what is the, what class is really selling out fast?
Hang on. I sent this to myself as well.
Her color was full.
Didn't I send this to myself as well?
You sent
Hold on.
it, is this the email you sent it to us? That you're talking, or you're,
Yes, but I think it no, but the one I want to find is well, actually, if we go to if I go to the website, which would be through the one that I sent you, I can see because it shows what's here we go. It shows what's already full. So I'm looking at the website at the bottom of that page. What's already full is, and it doesn't start till the middle of April, is Intro to Metal Jewelry Design, which is Saturdays at 9:30. Oh, from 9:30 to 4:30 with a 1 hour break for lunch. That's a very long class. That's the longest class. And also, both watercolor painting classes are full. One's on Wednesday at 10 in the morning for 3 hours, and one's on Friday at 1 in the afternoon for 3 hours. We've added a new class called Introduction to Miniatures, which sounds really fun. It's It says, excuse me, Bob, you cannot, excuse me, I must reprimand the husband. You cannot have a conversation when I'm. Bob. He's got a cochlear implant, he's deaf. Bob, you cannot have a conversation in the room when I'm addressing the community board. Okay. We all have our burdens. He's a great guy, just deaf. And also, well, I'm not going to go into the gender issues. Anyway, it says, in this hands-on course, you'll explore the fundamentals of miniature building while enhancing your visual storytelling and spatial design skills. You'll design and construct a miniature corner room featuring 2 walls, a floor, furniture, and an optional ceiling. Work from concept to finished piece. You'll hand sketch ideas, plan your layout, and create realistic textures. And I think that my in-laws have just arrived as 5 people, and of course, they'll be coming into the living room because I've closed all the other doors in the apartment.
Well, this is why we switched up our agenda for you, and so hopefully you can get to where you are and,
Do
these
you
are great
guys have more
updates.
questions? They're apparently paused in the hall because they're really kind and well behaved.
No, I think it's totally fine. Thank you so much for coming. I think it's a really great way for community building for seniors, and that's why I wanted to have you all on. So hopefully we can get the word out more about this great programming.
So I'm going to put it in my next monthly government community relations e-blast, which goes to Jesse. Oh, I'm not sure. I think I'll figure out if it used to go to Jesse and then there was some snafu with MailChimp. But anyway, I'm going to get it to Matt and Josephine for sure. And it will have a blurb on this. And then you can, it'll come out in March. So you'll have plenty of time to pop it in your April email,
Okay, thank you so
Great.
much.
monthly update newsletter. Okay, thanks.
That would be great.
Thank
Good to
you,
see you,
guys.
Lisa.
Thank you,
Thank
Thanks for
Lisa.
letting me go first. Appreciate it. Bye.
Right.
Okay,
I like Lisa off the chain, the 2 minutes.
right, yeah.
You know?
So but Randy, hold just 1 second, because I did skip over the open session. I just want to quickly check just to see if there was anything from the public that we may have missed before we switch over to Lisa. I didn't see any hands. Huh? All right, so bring in 1 person over. And then Randy, we'll get right to you. Thanks. Hi, Emily.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Shall I start in?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I guess maybe looking for a little bit of guidance. Had joined a community board meeting last week and was appointed here, which is fantastic. I'm a parent, live in the West Village, have lived in the West Village for like 15 years. And a group of parents have children who are in a swim program at PS 11. And this is a program that's been going on since 2014. It's an outside company called, I think, New York Fit for Kids. In any event, they have a permit with the Board of Education, but were notified by the principal of PS 11 that they could no longer run their program as of the end of February, which doesn't quite make sense. The program's fantastic. It's also cost effective, all the above. And we're just trying to figure out, frankly, what to do and how to resolve this, because it doesn't seem to make a ton of sense, but we're not quite sure what to do.
Okay, well, thanks for coming to our committee meeting tonight. Do you have, we should definitely have a follow-up conversation about this and get an understanding as to sort of what is going on with the program and what's been communicated to you in terms
Yeah.
of why the program is ending by the end of February. Could you be in touch with the district office here at the community board so we could have a follow-up
Sure.
conversation?
Absolutely.
But I guess just in a very quick, if you have, like, do you have any information about why the program was ending and sort of what the community, have you received any sort of formal reason from school leadership on the program?
What we have understood from the gentleman who runs the program is that he wasn't given any reason. He's asked for a meeting. The meeting was declined. Meeting with the principal was declined. And so it's not, obviously that would be very helpful, but we can't figure out why, to your point.
Okay, so let us help do a little digging and see
Okay.
what we can find out, and we would be happy to follow up with you on this.
Okay, fantastic. That would be wonderful. I
you.
really appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
for coming,
you.
Emily.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
You too.
You too.
Thanks, Randy, for your patience. and being flexible with the agenda. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you. I'm Randy Berry. I'm the executive director of Indie Space. I've presented in front of the community board a few times, so I'm familiar with at least a few of the people I'm seeing on the screen. Indie Space, I'll just give you a general, very quick overview of who Indie Space is and what we do. And then Matt just asked me to, and Jesse asked me to give a little bit of an overview of what we're seeing in the field. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Indie Space is a community organizer and a service organization for indie artists in New York City. We have 4 program pillars. One is funding, radically transparent, equitable, and responsive funding program, real estate program, professional development and community connections, and then we also advocate for this community. We serve hundreds of smaller budget organizations and indie venues and thousands of individual artists each year with our funding and our real estate programs. Our real estate program I'll focus on quite a bit here today because it is a primary challenge for arts organizations in the city right now and always. But our real estate program has 2 components. One is we develop and operate affordable spaces for artists to rehearse and perform. We have one space, the West Village Rehearsal Co-op on Washington Street in Gansevoort in the West Village. That space is a 1-room, 1,200 square foot space in the basement of a commercial building, catty corner to the Whitney. And we're able to serve 2,300 artists in that space last year with low cost, free, or no more than $10 an hour space. It's a critical space in the neighborhood and is one of a kind at this point. We have a 99-year lease for $1 a year in that space. And then we are in the process of building out a new space with Daniel from Entertainment Community Fund that we've, of course, been in front of the community board a number of times about. We are going to be the new, the ground floor tenant, the community facility space at Rialto West on 10th Avenue between 48th and 49th Street. We are thrilled about this project and have been having a great time working with Entertainment Community Fund in Douglaston to think through that space and move this process. We're working on a unique process where the DCLA has partnered with HPD to help us build out our space. We're anticipating serving 5,000 artists a year in that space. It'll be 2 rehearsal spaces, one that's large enough for small workshop development performance. And then we have a nice community organizing and co-working area for itinerant artists that don't have an institutional home to come and work, organize, have workshops. We'll also have a lending library at this space and a food pantry for artists in our community that are facing food insecurity. So we're very excited about this space and are thrilled to be in the neighborhood. So the other part of our real estate program is our free advisory and consulting program. We work with arts organizations that are facing a real estate transition challenge or opportunity. And that seems like all organizations these days. It's unfortunately been a very popular program. We've worked with over 150 organizations at this point to help them navigate their challenges with their lease, to help them expand in the best case scenario. We've helped 6 organizations purchase their theatrical homes to make them permanent. And unfortunately, we've helped quite a few organizations gracefully close their doors. So as I'm sure you've all been aware of the Center for an Urban Future report that just named kind of the crisis that we're facing as arts organizations in New York City. For the first time in decades, we've seen a loss in artists in New York City. I think we heard percentages today. Daniel and Matt were together at a hearing in front of City Council for Arts and Culture, and really heard over and over and over again about affordable space being a critical piece here that needs to be addressed in order for artists to be able to remain in New York City. So, I mean, the tone in the news in your district is absolutely the same. We're seeing a tremendous rise in the cost of doing business. We're being required, of course, and we should be, to pay arts workers and artists a living wage. Healthcare costs in order to provide healthcare have gone up exponentially. Rents are going up, and funding from philanthropy and the city and state are not keeping pace with that rise of cost of living or cost of doing business. We're seeing a real kind of retraction from philanthropy under this new federal administration. Instead of a doubling down on support for arts and culture, Indie Spaces NEA grant was canceled. We also saw a decline, or we were cut from DCLA at a time when philanthropy is also unsure about how to support in this moment. And because there have been a lot of eyes on philanthropy, they've I guess, not stepped into this moment in the way that we would have hoped they would to fill in some of the gaps that we're seeing. So we're seeing more and more small budget organizations, especially challenged with the real estate market. For some reason, in the last 4 to 5 months, especially, we're getting call after call about smaller organizations that had some sweetheart deal with an owner for office space and maybe a rehearsal space for $1,200 a month or $1,500 a month. The owner is asking everybody to leave. They're going to be building out the space, renovating, and maybe, leasing to a more typical commercial use. And there is nowhere for us to put a bunch of groups that have $1,500 a month in their budget. And so we're concerned about this. And we're, arts and culture, when the organizations have to move, they usually close. They don't reopen somewhere else because they've only been able to open and operate because of these tremendous deals that they're getting in a community room in their building, or because they've been there for the last 22 years when it's this kind of situation that we're seeing over and over again. And it's something that we're thinking about how to address, maybe with a larger space that we can break up, and lease to people that are able to pay between $1,000 and $3,000 a month. There's nothing else on the market for them. So, it's kind of a downer update, unfortunately. I will say there's tremendous amount of work happening. There's great creativity happening across the city. And for indie shows, I know this isn't the same for, larger institutions, but people are coming out, audience behavior definitely has changed, and there's often you need to have some sort of hybrid component to the work, but especially for organizations that have a social component to their work, whether there's a bar around the corner or something in the theater, or there's a more interactive show. These shows are selling. Indie shows are selling really, really well. And so I'm encouraged by that there's a lot of creativity happening, but we just have to be mindful about that continuing and making sure that we're supporting artists in our neighborhoods.
Thank you, Randy. Yeah, despite sort of the overall bad news, it's nice to know that there are bright spots with the West Village Co-op space and Rialto West coming online. So those are good updates and appreciate that. So I'll turn to committee members for questions for Randy.
I guess the biggest question is, how can we support? You talked about the cuts to NEA and DCLA. Is there some sort of letter? Can we advocate? Is it worth doing?
Well, DCLA had a record-breaking budget this past year. We're anticipating cuts because everyone is anticipating cuts, but there are more organizations, even though there's a decline in artists, there are more organizations applying for funding. And so it's an issue in general that arts and culture only receives 0.25% of the city's budget, even though there's a multiplier, a big multiplier return on investment in arts and culture. So what we could all see is a greater allocation to DCLA, because we know that money turns into money for the city and keeps artists here. And maybe a more equitable, in my opinion, a more equitable distribution of DCLA funds when we do see increases. The CDF covers, 1,100, 1,200 organizations, and the CIGs, who are wonderful and we love them, but it's 39 organizations and they receive the lion's share of support. So every time there's an increase, it's split equally, but it's split between 39 organizations and 1,100 organizations. And so, the impact isn't felt so much when there's an increase to DCLA's budget for such a large group of organizations. Trying to think of what else this community board could do to support. I mean, I think that we, rallying around increases to DCLA is always incredibly important. There's, of course, there was a bill that was introduced by Powers and Botcher, right, that, around affordable housing for artists. Artists are hit with multiple layers of real estate pressure because it's not just where we live, right? But we also have to rehearse and create, and we have to perform. So there's 3 layers of real estate pressure that artists, at least performing arts artists, are under at all times. And what we've seen is when you reduce the cost of either living or practice, rehearsal, those dollars, they get turned into additional funds for artists. Like they turn into a living wage. There's a one-to-one effect. So if we can lower the cost of their workspace at a minimum, artists are going to still fundraise in the same way, and they're going to put that money into the pocket of the artists that they're working with.
And Randy, what about sort of how the co-op space and the community facility space at Rialto West, like, in your opinion, how do we get more of those types of uses? And what was your process like?
Well, it always started with the community board, making sure that the community board understands that Indie Space doesn't want to be the user of all of these spaces, but Indie Space is a conduit to the hundreds of organizations that we work with that are under real estate pressure. So making sure that the community board, I know that with the ballot initiative, the process for ULURP has changed a little bit, but making sure, because the community board is the place where you know what's going on in your neighborhood, that we make sure that when new developments are going through the pipeline, that the community-based organizations and the theaters in your neighborhood are the first to be considered as part of that community facility space. We were fortunate enough to be connected with Entertainment Community Fund in Douglaston pretty early on, but it's critical that we are part of the conversation at the very beginning, because also we have very unique needs for our spaces. So you have to be a part of the conversation at the beginning. They need to build the affordability for the arts organization into the financials from the very beginning, because what is affordable, or what everybody thinks is affordable, is actually not affordable to arts and culture, right? So it has to be very, very low cost space or a free space. The fact that we pay $1 a year in West Village Rehearsal Co-op has changed the game for those artists. 2,300 artists served in one room in a basement. We need a room and a bathroom and an outlet. Like, seriously, we don't even need windows. We like windows, but we don't even need them. So if we can think about these, spaces that are not otherwise income generating, not really, then the space in West Village is storage 001. We're in a storage room, but 2,300 artists saved money, put money back into the pockets of the artists that are working with them. So making sure that's replicable. We could do that in every new development. And by the way, Indie Space would be happy to do that. We needed $50,000 to build out that space, to put a sprung floor, buy some equipment, hang a couple of lights. And it costs us $800 a month to run. We don't staff it. We have an automated lock on the door. We have a great deal with security upstairs. They love us. We give them free tickets and coffee whenever I show up. They're thrilled to have us there. And 2,300 artists are not going broke because of that space. So these are things that we could be doing over and over and over again. And it's a very small give back from the developer that has huge impact. Some of it is education too, just that helping them realize that there are spaces within the building that they don't have to. I mean, we'd like to be on the ground floor. Don't get me wrong. Like, we don't need to be in the basement, but for theaters, if the ceiling's high enough, actually, we don't want windows, right? So rehearsal spaces could use a window, but theaters don't use windows. We don't want windows. So anyway, you could tell everyone, you could tell all of the building, all the developers that are coming through your space, send them to us. And if it's not us that wants to operate, we have hundreds of groups that are coming to us looking for affordable space. So
That's such a great point. Thank you so much, Randy, for saying that. I mean, I'm on Chelsea land use. Aaron, you're in Hell's Kitchen land use, and every time a development comes up, yeah, we're absolutely going to bring this up. But, we still have spaces like the colored school, which, I don't even know what is happening with that, but that's another space that's a big potential possibility.
we've talked actually about the colored school quite a bit. I've been working with New Federal Theater, which is a historic Black theater company, 54 years old. We just lost Woody King Jr. He just passed away, I think it was last week. But that school, that organization has been without a space. We actually helped them find a space in the archive building. They're there, but that is going to be office and rehearsal space mostly. The colored school, in my opinion, would have been a perfect location for New Federal. This is a beautiful story. We had the idea of a little micro museum around the colored schools and this historic kind of property paired with this historic theater company that has been without a home for 54 years, without their own home for 54 years. We would have loved to see them in that building. It takes a tremendous amount of money that New Federal Theater doesn't have. But we would love to partner. These are groups like this all the time that we're placing in spaces, and that we would love to see, like stabilizing the building, stabilizing the arts organization. But we have to pair that also with operating funds. That's the real kicker here, right? Like we could help them get through a capital process, help them build out the space. But operating funds and making sure that the building is well preserved and taken care of and run is a critical piece of that too.
Yeah, this is all very helpful, but we're going to stay on top of that for sure.
Great.
Any other questions?
I have a question, Randy. Off the top of your head, have you ever worked with Google at all? Just, it's a random question. Have you ever worked with Google?
Aside from them employing my husband for 15 years, no, which he's no longer there. No, we haven't. And we would love to work with Google. We would love, to be connected to them. We are part of the West Side Cultural Network, and Google supports the West Side Fest. Our West Village Rehearsal Co-op is part of that network. And I hope Hell's Kitchen will be too. We're a little far north for them, but we would love to be connected with Google. We think that they would love what we're doing and could be a big support, and they're a big part of the neighborhood. So
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Just quickly,
stand up. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
You mentioned Eric Botcher. He's now the state senator. And do you get state funding? And also, this is an election year for the governor. So, I mean, this is a good time for her to give you all some money and start some things. And the state also deals with certain, I think, michelamas and stuff like that. So maybe you can work with them with that.
Yeah, we do get NISCA funding. As a council member, Eric Botcher was incredibly supportive of us and really helped us get Hell's Kitchen over the finish line. We're really grateful to him and plan to hit him up on us at the state level too, for sure. We've actually been in conversations with Governor Hochul's office around, they just created the New York Spaces Fund. It's a $10 million allocation for smaller budget arts organizations to purchase property. We love this. We'd really like to see DCLA open their acquisition program again, maybe leverage these funds a little bit. And we're hoping that we can help bring private philanthropy into the conversation a bit as well. We've been talking for a really long time about the need for an opportunity fund. A lot of the arts organizations that we work with have the opportunity before they get kicked out to actually buy the property that they're in, right? They're often getting kicked out because there's a building for sale. And obviously in Midtown Manhattan, that is not possible. They're not going to be able to buy a building in Midtown Manhattan. But, Wild Project we just worked with, it was a small standalone $5 million building. And Governor Hochul's office was able to give a $600,000 grant that got us over the finish line for that project. But small budget arts organizations can't compete with the market. We do need funds like this that can be available fairly quickly to give us some leg up in this conversation. So we're hoping to work with them closely on that project and see how successful it is, and see if we can use that to leverage additional funds for arts and culture in the city.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Hi, Randy. Thank you for the update. Keep fighting the good fight. I just had a quick question as a follow-up to Jesse's question. Have you spoken to anybody at Hudson River Park Trust? They're a bit tight on space, but this seems like something that if you were to contact leadership at Hudson River Park Trust, sometimes they have space available that is well below market rate for 501(c)(3)s, and it might be worth speaking with them, and they might even put out a RFP that's sort of tailored to what your organization does that would allow you and other community support groups to apply for heavily subsidized space.
I have not spoken to them. That's a great idea. Hudson River Park is part of the West Side Cultural Network also. So maybe there's an avenue there, but that's a great idea. I'll write it down definitely to reach out to them. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I had a quick question about your new ground floor space, which is super exciting. I guess, how are you guys gonna take advantage of having a ground floor space with that much visibility and that much foot traffic over there?
I don't know yet, but we're very excited. It's a big deal for us, and we're right on the park. There's going to be a brand new park too, the Lorraine Hansberry Park, and we have a vision of being able to interact and play between the rehearsal spaces and performance spaces that are happening on the ground floor and the park. We've been talking about, and I don't know if this is going to go anywhere, but we've been talking about getting a mobile unit as well, that could help us kind of expand our footprint a bit, like a truck, a mobile truck that can be outfitted as a stage and have lighting and sound equipment inside, could have the projector. I haven't talked to Daniel about this. He's on the call, but there's a park right outside, and we're an arts organization right next door. And the park has not been designed to have an outdoor performance space, right? So, if there was a world where it made sense to expand our footprint a little bit and be able to have only when it makes sense. Lighting and sound equipment for an outdoor event or a movie screening or something like that. It's something that we're toying with a little bit. Affordable space in every borough or in every neighborhood is the idea, but also as an extension or expansion of Hell's Kitchen. There's some bushes up against our window, but I was imagining, a great dance rehearsal happening in one of the spaces, and that instigating and inciting excitement in the park. That's my hope.
That's amazing. Have you been talking to the Parks Department at all?
We haven't yet.
Wow.
Yeah, it's exciting.
That really is.
We know a few people at the Parks Department.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I did some research on the truck, and the Parks Department has a mobile stage also, but apparently from what I understand from the artists, it's nearly impossible to get. So
but they also have a puppet mobile too. They actually have a mobile puppet unit where they have puppeteers go around the truck. And then the summer stage stuff, yeah. I actually work for the Parks Department. We should get in contact with each other.
Oh, I would love to connect. Yeah. I mean, we haven't, from what we understood from the artists, that it's just difficult to get a hold of, whether it's too popular or the red tape that it takes to actually get it. So we would like to make something that's more accessible, especially to smaller budget or historically excluded artists. And, my marketing team is happy that we could have a truck that has our logo on it. That's all they're like.
What a great neighbor for the park to have. That sounds amazing. Yeah.
We hope so, and we really hope to incorporate the residents in the building as much as possible. We're connecting with Breaking Ground that is going to be in the building, and we think this could be a wonderful place for our neighbors, for the residents in the building, and for the creative community throughout Manhattan.
Excellent.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Good. Well, we'll connect you offline. And this is all. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate the time and the update on what you're up to, and look forward to having you back anytime. And
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just remembered one artist that I have to mention while we're here. There's an artist that reached out to us last week. I'm sorry, I have to just mention really quickly. Ezra Cohn. I don't know if he's come around the community board meetings at all. We encouraged him to. He's been in born and raised in Hell's Kitchen. He's one of these artists that has a studio space that's $1,200 a month that he's about to lose. He can see our building from his apartment. He's about to lose this studio space, and he does large scale like installation art. If you all hear of any place in the, his partner is 8.5 months pregnant. He does not want to have to leave the neighborhood and not be close by when he has a small baby. So if there is anything that comes up, he needs something with kind of high ceilings. And he's one of those, you know, he's barely paying. The owner of the building gifted him this space, and she passed away. Now that her children maybe want to sell the building. So he's going to lose his space. If anybody hears of anything, you know, we'd love to connect him. He's a born and raised Hell's Kitchen artist, visual artist. So.
Wow. Yeah, I'd definitely love to. Yeah, I mean, feel free to connect and figure out sort of what the resources are here locally. But thanks for flagging that. Hopefully we can keep it moving.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks for your work and for advocating for arts and culture. We need partners like you. So thank you.
Okay, bringing Daniel to Zombie. Okay. All right. So next agenda item is Daniel. Hello, Daniel from Entertainment Community Fund. Thank you for joining us this evening. Yeah, Daniel, if you want to give us an update on sort of the work that ECF does and any other updates as it relates to the work that you're doing around affordable housing, I think it would be great, especially, you know, as it relates to artists. I think that would be great for our committee. So turn it over to you, and thanks for being here.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me. And a big shout out to Randy and the Indie Space team. They're truly anchors in the arts and culture community. They're a pleasure to work with. And as we talk about affordable housing, particularly for artists, they're doing the other side of the work, which is ensuring that we can create and preserve affordable workspace for artists. So these things do go hand in hand. So as Matt mentioned, my name's Daniel. I'm the executive director of the Actors Fund Housing Development Corporation, which is a subsidiary of the Entertainment Community Fund, formerly the Actors Fund. As you all, some of you may know, we're a national human services organization, and we provide support services for everyone in the performing arts and entertainment community. That's folks on the stage and people behind the scenes as well. So it's a pretty big tent. Our core programs include social services. A big part of our social service program is our emergency financial assistance program, which a lot of folks are familiar with, but we have many other programs housed in our social service team. We're also involved in health, particularly information on health insurance and direct health care through the Freeman Health Center, which is a partnership with Mount Sinai out of our main office in Times Square. And we are involved in workforce development through a career center focused on developing sideline work and a portfolio career for people in the arts. And of course, housing. And our housing work is really threefold. We do a lot of educational programming to help people understand how to apply for and access affordable housing. So we're HPD housing ambassadors. We have a lot of online seminars and work with clients one-on-one to support them throughout the application process. We also do advocacy, and I'm going to circle back to that in a minute. And then we also market, develop, and operate affordable housing. So we have a small but growing portfolio of properties here in New York City and also in Los Angeles. But we have very, very deep roots in the community district. As mentioned, you know, our offices are in Times Square, but we so many people who we serve really live or work in Community District 4. We operate the Dorothy Ross Friedman Residence, which is 178 units of affordable housing on West 57th and 10th. And that's 100% affordable, serving a lot of working artists in the industry. We also have a contract to serve people living with HIV/AIDS and a contract to serve older adults and people living with disabilities. So we really have a mixed population there at the Dorothy Ross Friedman Residence. And then, of course, we love Manhattan Plaza. Some people think we own and operate it, but we do not. But we do serve so many people who live in that building, and we do provide services through the Rodney Kirk Center, which is social service program in Manhattan Plaza. So we're doing a lot of work in the district. And then as Matt referenced and as Randy referenced, we're really excited to be partnering with Douglaston Development, who's our development partner, and of course, Indy Space, who's going to be activating and operating that community facility space at Rialto West, which is under construction at 10th Ave, right between 48th and 49th Street there. And that will be 158 units, all affordable. The wonderful community facility and arts and cultural space that Randy and team will be operating, and then, of course, the adjacent park. Pivoting to any questions before I kind of pivot to some of our work and advocacy around artist housing at the moment?
How many total units do you guys have or operate? Sorry, how many total units do you guys have or operate? Is it like in the thousands or hundreds?
Across our portfolio, more than 550, I would say,
Okay, cool.
with another 250 in the pipeline.
Wow.
We're partners with Breaking Ground on the Skirmerhorn in downtown Brooklyn. Again, the Dorothy Ross Friedman residence on West 57th. We have Rialto West in the pipeline. And then we also have in Los Angeles, the Palmview, which is 40 units affordable. And we just leased up 152 units of artist housing in Los Angeles about 2 years ago. So those are our properties at the moment. Just pivoting to our advocacy, we've been working hard to advocate for affordable artist housing in New York City. Artist housing is allowable on the federal level, so we see a lot of affordable housing for artists being built in different places across the country. And as you know, we have some iconic artist housing properties here in New York City, including Westbeth and Manhattan Plaza and PS 109 El Barrio's Art Space. But for several years, over a decade, we have been unable to build new affordable artist housing in New York City. So we've been advocating and working closely with the city to see if we can overcome some of the barriers. And we're at, I think, an exciting moment in that, and Randy referenced this earlier, there is legislation that has been introduced by City Council that will help overcome one of the primary barriers that we're seeing. And I'm going to drop this in the...
There's no
or maybe I
chat.
don't have access to the chat.
Yeah, there's no chat, Daniel. Sorry.
Okay, no chat. Well, maybe we can circulate it after, just some details on the legislation. But this was introduced by former council members Powers and Botcher, and was really focused on a clarification to the administrative code, particularly the human rights law, which says you cannot discriminate on the basis of occupation. And some of the attorneys in various administrations and various agencies were seeing that as an obstacle to housing for artists in particular. There are absolutely ways to design an artist preference or artist housing so it's not an occupational screen. But regardless, we think this legislative fix will help lower one of the barriers to creating more artist housing. And I would say in conjunction with this artist legislation, which has been introduced, but we're hoping to get passed as soon as possible. Center for an Urban Future, in conjunction with their Creative New York report, which really looked at the creative economy more broadly, they had released a report specifically looking at affordable artist housing in New York City. It's called Integrating Artists into New York City's Affordable Housing Agenda. And it introduces some new data and analysis. It addresses challenges and roadblocks. It puts forth really clear recommendations for policymakers so that we can implement a smart artist housing policy here in New York City. So we're really hoping that between this legislative fix and between this white paper policy brief released from Center for an Urban Future, that these will lower the barriers and de-risk artist housing for the new administration so that we can create more of this. And I think the hope is that not that artist housing's everywhere in New York City, that that there's a little bit of artist housing, perhaps in projects that really make sense, projects that build upon existing cultural assets in the community, perhaps projects that have an arts and cultural facility integrated into the building. Um, Perhaps a project that has an arts and cultural partner or a nonprofit that can ensure the integrity of the artist preference. So, we look forward to working closely with the city agencies, the mayor's office, and city council to hopefully advance some more artist housing in New York City. And while Rialto West at the moment does not have an artist preference for some of the reasons I'm talking about, we do see it as a pilot-ready potential demonstration project if and when the city's ready to move forward with this, for all the reasons we talked about, with indie space, operating the community facility space because of the rich arts and cultural fabric in CB4. So that is something that we would love to realize if our partners in the city can help us. I will pause there and see if there's any questions.
Well, thank you so much for that presentation. I do have a few questions.
Yeah.
Mainly if I was an artist who just moved to New York City, how would I find out about any available units that may be a part of this fund? And then is there some sort of criteria that artists have to meet, or is it a lottery system? We can talk about that a little bit.
Sure. First of all, if any artists are ever interested in accessing our services, they can always visit entertainmentcommunity.org. We have a client portal. They have to register and create a user account, but at that point, they have access to all of our various services, including our housing resources. And because we as a nonprofit development corp aren't going to build our way out of the challenges that the artists are facing here in New York City and in other communities. We do a lot of educating people just on how to access housing that's available to everyone and educating on them on how to navigate the lottery. So folks always have access to that. Um, in terms of artist housing in general, there tends to be kind of two primary ways that one is certified as an artist. It does depend on the project, but typically you're either looking at income from arts work as one indicator of certifying an artist. The other more dominant model, and I think one that the city would be likely to implement if a policy was codified, would be not looking at income from arts work, but looking at commitment to practice through a portfolio review. Very similar to how you might assess an artist for an artist grant, where they submit an artist statement, a CV or resume, work samples, and then that portfolio is reviewed by a committee to really determine commitment to practice. And when we've implemented this in, like I mentioned, the Hollywood Arts Collective in Los Angeles that leased up 2 years ago, we actually had a two-tier system where first we looked at income from arts work. Specifically, it was 6,500 out of the last 3 to 5 years income from arts work. So obviously they might earn more from other work, but we were looking for 6,500 for 3 out of the last 5 years. If they didn't meet that threshold, that was okay. And then we would do the portfolio review. So we had a two-tiered system for that building. Regardless, in New York City, all affordable housing goes through New York City Housing Connect and through the lotteries. But with a preference, whether it's a preference for community district residents, as I'm sure you know, there's a community board preference. It's been scaled back, but there's still a community board preference. There's also a municipal employee preference. Sometimes there's preferences for seniors or set-asides for formerly homeless. But whenever there are those preferences or set-asides, they still run through the lottery, but people who certify in those groups would be have a preference, or in other words, go in the front of the line. For a percentage of units, I should say.
Questions?
Anyone online? David, Jeffrey, you guys are good? Thumbs up. Daniel, thank you so much for this update. Really appreciate it. You know, as a committee, we should all just stay in touch on next steps with Rialto West and getting updates as to, you know, milestones on that project, but appreciate you being here tonight. And yeah, I think, you know, the work that you all doing is great, obviously, and, you know, let's keep the lines of communication open.
Yeah, we're happy to, you know, brief this group or other subcommittees of the board on progress at Rialto West. And in terms of the advocacy, as we continue to work on that, we're happy to brief this group. And as we continue to push this legislation along, any support from this group or the community board would be much appreciated. So thank you all.
Can we just get back? I'm sorry a second. You said the bill was, the legislation was introduced. And I apologize, I could have done the research on this, but since you probably know it right off the top of your head, it's been introduced. Does it have a hearing date? Or does it already have it? It already have its hearing?
It did not have a hearing date. There was a hearing today that was related. It wasn't specifically out the bill. It was an oversight hearing about affordability in the arts and culture sector more broadly, and there's a lot of talk about the bill, but we do not have yet a date for a specific hearing on the bill. But I'd be happy to keep this group posted on that.
And do you have any sense from the new speaker's office and everything that whether that is in the works or?
What I would say is we are optimistic, but we're still working with the speaker's office to figure out the best way to advance it.
Right, yeah, thank you.
You got it.
Thank you, Daniel.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
I'm gonna move Daniel and Randy, I'm gonna just move you to the attendees section, so you guys can stay on as long as you like, but don't have the pressure of feeling like you have to stay on if you don't want to.
So to round out the agenda, old new business, any committee discussions, general thoughts on the presenters this evening, and yeah, just wanted to open it up to discussion among committee members. Anything to bring up?
Well, I'm definitely interested in this bill and how we can help advance it or get it to move forward. So we don't have quorum tonight, but there seems to be some general nodding around the table that this might be something important that we could do.
Yeah, I think we should raise this at, I mean, in my opinion, I think you raise it at exec, because I think while it does involve artists, it does involve housing, and so I think getting housing, I don't see any major pitfalls in why housing committee or, you know, representatives of housing would have any issue with it, but I think you wanna bring that there if you wanna be supportive of the bill. You know, and then maybe comes out of exec or something. You know, and then if we're trying to, I think what we were asking for is, you know, for it to progress, right? And have a
Right.
hearing
Right.
and, you know, and everything like that, and so I mean, it's on it needs to start its journey.
Yes.
You know,
Right. Anything else?
There was a hand raised, I think, from,
Yes, David, but I think he's going.
oh,
Oh,
yeah, David has.
as David. Where's David? Oh, I guess David got bounced out. I might have by
He wants
accident
to
bounced
come
out.
back.
I think I might actually bounce David out of the.
Instead of Daniel.
I think I did
Yeah.
Daniel and I
Yeah.
David, that's what I did. Sorry about that, David, if that's what you were, that was not intentional.
No, I figured that. I guess Josephine answered my question because I thought there was going to be a vote, but then she said we don't have quorum, so my question was answered. That's why I lowered my hand, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for trying to vote on it. Yeah, we'll certainly bring this up at exec the next time.
Yeah.
I
I have one just quick thing, just because so this hearing that was at city council this afternoon was an oversight hearing on the affordability in the creative economy. So lots of people were speaking about sort of the different needs and challenges and opportunities. One of the things though that I wanted to bring up, because it was sort of a big announcement, was our new borough president, Brad Herman Siegel, showed up. And his comments were really encouraging about how he wants to prioritize the arts in Manhattan. And he announced that he is dedicating, I believe, all of his capital funding for fiscal year 27 to arts and cultural organizations.
Wow.
really.
So it was, yeah, it was a great announcement. And yeah, so I just wanted to share that one update. And yeah, it seems like there's a lot of great momentum from our electeds on this front too, which is great to see.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
Reminding them of an entire building, artist building that we need to.
Right.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's the art building.
Hey, we got a project right for it.
Yep, that's right.
I don't know if all of this capital funding will save that, but it'll certainly it'll be very helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
That's very cool.
Great.
Yeah, I was thinking about, I mean, we have to follow up, I mean, but, you know, the basement of Pier 57 is actually underwater and it's enormous. And, I know they always would look, when Google first took that over, they were wanting to do some type of installation art thing because it's windowless, right? Because it's literally.
Is that why you brought up the Google
Yeah, that's
connection?
why I wanted to ask about Google. It's enormous space, and so, because it's the length of the pier, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesse, when you say underwater, do you mean like do you mean just below grade of water, or do you mean it's filled with water?
No, I mean, it's below grade of water. It's
Okay.
it's dry. It's dry. It's dry.
Okay.
I wouldn't be mentioning it if it was sunken. No, so I mean.
No, it's actually, yeah, good question.
When the piers were built originally, there was an above pier, there's a pier, then there was an entire, basically, copy of the space underneath. And it's massive, and so, you know, it comes with its own hurdles, obviously. You know, but I would love to know what they ended up doing with that space. So the architect that designed it was the same guy that built I'm sorry, not the airport, what do you call it, the landing strips. In World War II, for these floating portable landing strips in England.
Oh, wow.
That the same guy, when after the war, he came here and he built that pier. Or he designed that pier, so.
Yeah, it's like a good art deco masterpiece.
Yeah. All right.
All right, anything else?
Old any business? No?
All righty.
All right, do we have a?
Motion to-
No, motion, we're not making a.
Oh,
that's
right,
right.
We can do that.
We didn't come to order, so we don't. All right, everybody.
All right, thanks
Take care.
everyone.
Good night.